Have you ever wondered what price destiny demands when it decides to bless you? What if the very woman you love more than life itself gave birth to miracles, and in the same breath, surrendered what was needed? Is it fate? Or is it the gods reminding us that every blessing has a cost? What was the blessing? What will you do if you don't have a choice, but forced to let go of the one person that you love so much, who mean more than life to you? It was certain and confirmed that she was carrying one baby and expecting one child. How come she gave birth to two and died instantly? Was she the second child that reincarnated? Who was the second child? Today, I bring you the story of Aya, the woman whose love, turned into a sacrifice. The world is still yet to unravel the mystery. In the heart of a bustling town where the morning sun always rose golden over red earth rooftops, there lived a woman named Aya. Her name meant joy, and true to her name, she was the kind of soul who carried light wherever she went. Her laughter could soften quarrels, her kindness could melt anger, and her beauty, her beauty was the kind that made poets reach for their pens and minstrels tune their flutes. But what made her most remarkable was not her looks, it was the way she loved. When she married Ademola, a young man whose eyes always seemed to dance with fire whenever he looked at her, the whole community whispered that the gods had written their union long before they were born. Their marriage was not one of mere arrangement, nor convenience, it was a bond forged in affection, loyalty, and sacrifice. Ademola was not wealthy, but he was rich in heart. He would rise before dawn just to fetch fresh water so Aya would not lift a heavy pot. He would walk miles under the scorching sun to buy her favorite fruits. And whenever she smiled at him with those almond-shaped eyes, he felt richer than kings who sat on golden thrones. When Aya's belly began to round with pregnancy, the joy of their household could not be contained. Women from the neighborhood came singing, "The child of joy is coming, the womb is blessed, the house will be full of laughter." Ademola would sit quietly in the corner from time to time, watching his wife's belly and whispering to it as though the unborn child could already hear him. "My son, or my daughter, whichever you are, know this, your mother is the greatest treasure I have ever known. And you are our miracle and our bundle of joy." Each antenatal visit confirmed what they already celebrated. The nurse would listen, smile, and say, "Strong heartbeat, strong child." The months glided by, each one adding weight to Aya's body and brightness to her smile. Her womb blossomed like a calabash filled to the brim, and with every antenatal visit, the verdict was the same, one strong child with a strong heartbeat. The doctor would even let Ademola place the cool stethoscope to Aya's belly, as though he too could listen to the little drum of life inside. Each time, Ademola's eyes would be filled with tears of joy. "Our blessing is strong, Aya, and will definitely make our joy complete." Yet, the world has its way of whispering hints that the heart often ignores. One afternoon, Aya strolled through the open market, and stopped by a fruit seller's stall, choosing ripe oranges, when an old woman with wrinkled skin like folded parchment shuffled past. The woman's eyes, sharp and misty at once, lingered on Aya's belly. The woman hummed, tapping her staff on the ground. "The spirits are laughing joyfully. They say you carry one drum of life. But you have taken his second hand. Because you have chosen a new life." Aya frowned, half startled. Wondering. The words of the old woman may have sounded simple, but they were powerful revelations, woven in mysteries. "Mama, I don't understand, can you please tell me what you mean?" The old woman cackled, a dry sound like firewood crackling in the hearth. "My daughter, you have chosen. May you live longer in your new life." Before Aya could reply, the woman vanished into the crowd, as though swallowed by the very dust of the market. That night, Aya told Ademola about the strange encounter. He laughed at first, shaking his head. Market women and their stories. "My dear, don't trouble your heart with words of old market women," Ademola said. Very typical of him. But later, when Aya had drifted into sleep, Ademola sat awake, staring at her belly. For the first time, he wondered. He thought of the last time that Ira's mother, Mama Tower, had visited them. She had touched her daughter's belly and shook her head. And in her words, she said, "This child is restless." Or perhaps, "Children, your kicks feel heavier than mine ever were." Ademola wandered into his sleep. But doubt was quickly buried under excitement, because in just a month, Ire planned to travel to her mother's village to spend her final trimester. She wanted her mother's hands, her cooking, and her songs to surround her as she brought a new life into the world. Ademola, though reluctant, agreed but wished to always have his beloved wife with him at all time. He loved and cherished her presence as though he could never do without her. "If it will give you peace, then go, my love. Only promise me you will return safely, with our child in your arms." Ire smiled, her face glowing in the moonlight. "With our child," she repeated, unaware that destiny was listening, and smirking at their certainty. The morning of Ira's departure arrived with a sky painted in soft gold, as though the heavens themselves were blessing her journey. The compound bustled with neighbors who came to bid her farewell. Some carried small gifts, dried fish, beads for the baby, herbs believed to strengthen a woman before childbirth. Ademola moved like a shadow, his smile stretched but his heart was visibly heavy. He had not wanted her to travel, but keeping his wife happy was a priority to him, and so, he did all that he could to make her happy. Every instinct in him begged her to remain by his side. Yet, he had always honored her choices. If she wanted her mother's arms in her last days of waiting, who was he to deny her? He adjusted her wrapper carefully, as if trying to prolong the moment. "Ire," he murmured, "promise me you will be careful on the road." She cupped his face with both hands and said, "I promise, my love. It is just a few hours' journey. Soon, I will be in Mama's kitchen, eating her yam porridge and waiting for you to join me when the time comes." And soon she left. The road to her mother's village was long and winding. Ire leaned back on the seat with her hand resting on her belly. The unborn child kicked gently as though reminding her that she was not alone. Her thoughts far away as she wondered what the old woman in the market could have meant. "Of course, I know that I have chosen a life with my lovely husband, but is that really what she meant? Is there more to it?" she kept her thought to herself. As the sun tilted westward, the road grew narrower. Forest pressed close on both sides, shadows stretching long across the path. A sudden unease settled over the passengers, and the driver muttered about bad roads and the need to reach the village before nightfall. Ire closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. She did not know why her heart was racing, but something in the air had shifted. And then, a loud bang, and the bus suddenly swerved violently. Screams filled the air, with metal screeched against metal. The world spun into chaos as the vehicle somersaulted, crashing, breaking, tumbling, and it was all so sudden. When it stopped, dust and smoke drifted upward like spirits leaving broken bodies. The air became thick with the smell of blood and iron, with vultures in the air being alerted. One by one, the cries of passengers faded into nothing. Only Ire lay aside, struggling to gather her breath, her body crushed, her head bleeding, yet life clung stubbornly to her like a flame in a storm. She gasped, her hand clutching her swollen belly, and she could tell that she didn't stand a chance with the rate of blood flow from her body. And at that very moment, labor pains struck. The world around Ire blurred. The shattered bus lay on its side like a wounded beast, its metal body groaning, and glass glittering in the dust. Bodies lay still, silent passengers of fate. She tried to cry out, but she needed to conserve her energy. She let out only a hoarse gasp that escaped her lips. Her belly clenched, sharp as a knife twisting inside her. Labor. No, not now, not here, not like this, she thought. Her trembling hands clutched her swollen stomach. The pain came in waves, fierce and unrelenting, tearing through her already broken body. Her mind screamed for help, but the road was quiet, save for the groan of the dying bus and the whispers of wind through the forest. Suddenly, footsteps surfaced, and two villagers, young men carrying firewood, stumbled upon the wreck. Their eyes widened at the carnage. "Oh my God," one cried, dropping his bundle. They rushed forward, checking for signs of life. Everyone is gone," one whispered, horror filling his voice. "No, wait." The other pointed. "This woman is still moving, she is alive." They knelt beside Iyer and examined her condition. Her eyes opened faintly, dazed with pain, lips trembling. "Help, my child," she whispered, and a miracle happened that no one could explain till this day. The young men exchanged a helpless glance. They were not healers, not midwives. But before they could lift her, another cry tore from her throat, the primal cry of a woman in the grip of labor. "She's delivering," one exclaimed. "Here. On the road? What should we do?" There was no time to move her and no time to think. The baby came swiftly, his tiny body slick with blood and dust. The sound of his cry pierced the deathly silence, fragile yet defiant. The young men hurriedly opened one of the luggage of the travelers and removed a conducive cloth to wrap the baby. All of a sudden, Iyer forced a final scream as her body convulsed, racked with a second wave of labor. The villagers stared in disbelief. Another one. Moments later, a girl emerged looking smaller, weaker, but alive. Her cry was softer, but it was there, a second flame refusing to die. The young men were stunned at the sight of twins in their hand along a forest roadside. Iyer, drenched in sweat and tears, lifted her head with her last strength and gazed at the two tiny lives wriggling with strangers. A weak smile tugged at her lips as she murmured, "Two, my love, two gifts for you," she whispered, as though speaking to Ademola across the distance. Her hand brushed the boy's tiny fingers, then the girl's. Her eyes closed slowly, and her chest rose one final time. Silence. The men knelt in shock. One whispered, voice heavy, "She gave them her life, so they could live." The twins' cries rose again, thin but steady, echoing against the trees. It was as if the earth itself mourned and rejoiced at the same time. And in that moment, on a lonely road stained with tragedy, destiny's hand was revealed. One woman's death had birthed two futures. The villagers bowed their heads, lifting the newborns gently, and whispered the only words they could muster. "May the spirits guard these children. For they are not ordinary." That night, far away in the town where he had last waved goodbye, Ademola could not sleep. He tossed, turned, then rose from the bed. His chest was tight, as though unseen hands pressed against it. He whispered to himself, "Why do I feel this dread? She should have arrived by now, so why has she not sent word?" Exhausted, he finally drifted into uneasy slumber. And then, he dreamt. The dream came like a vision, sharp and unrelenting. He stood on a road littered with broken metal and blood. Flames flickered in the distance with smoke rising. Amidst the wreckage, he saw Iyer with her face pale, yet smiling at him with a sadness that pierced his soul. In her arms she held but two newborn babies, a boy and a girl. Their cries rang out, echoing through the dream, until they became louder than thunder. Ademola fell to his knees in the vision. "Iyer," he called and her lips moved, but no words came. Instead, she pressed the babies into his arms. The moment he looked up, she was gone, vanished like smoke in the wind. He woke with a jolt, sweat drenching his body, and his breath came in ragged gasps. But the sound of crying babies lingered in his ears, even though his room was silent. Suddenly, there was knocks on the door, and a neighbor's voice broke the night, "Ademola. There has been an accident on the road to your wife's village." His heart dropped. Minutes later, he was rushing through the night, each step heavy as lead. By the time he reached the small clinic near the crash site, dawn had begun to break. The smell of antiseptic and sorrow hung thick in the air. A nurse led him inside, with her eyes clouded with pity. "We are sorry about your wife," she said softly. She did not make it." The words crushed him. His knees buckled, and he clutched his chest, as though the world itself had torn him open. But before despair could drown him, the nurse continued, "Yet, there is something you must see." She led him to a small cot, where two tiny bundles lay side by side. A boy and a girl. Twins. Their chests rose and fell with fragile determination, their small cries filling the room. Ademola staggered forward, eyes wide with disbelief. "Twins? No, this cannot be. The doctor said we were expecting only one." He reached out, trembling, touching their tiny fingers. And in that instant, the echo of his dream returned, Ire placing two children in his arms. Tears blurred his vision. His voice cracked. "Ire, you gave me more than I ever asked for. You gave me your everything." Just then, the little girl giggled joyfully and the act attracted Ademola's attention. He was shocked, but composed. He gathered the babies gently, one in each arm. They were warm, alive and real. His grief poured down his cheeks, but so did wonder and too many questions. Behind him, whispers rose among the nurses and villagers who had gathered, twins, born of tragedy. Hidden children of fate. She gave them her life. And Ademola, holding the twins close, whispered a vow only the spirits could hear: "I lost my queen, but I will love and protect these two kingdoms she has given to me. I will carry them for both of us, until my last breath." The news spread like wildfire through the village. Ire was gone, but two children have come to life. By midday, Mama Tower's compound was overflowing with neighbors, elders, and curious onlookers. Some carried gifts of different kind. Others came with nothing but questions and whispers that buzzed like restless bees. Twins were not ordinary children. They are children of power, born with a bond that tied them to the mysteries of heaven. Some said twins were blessings of unimaginable wealth. Others whispered they were spirit children, messengers who demanded reverence or punishment would follow. Now, here they were, tiny, fragile, barely clinging to life. And their arrival had cost a life. Mama Tower sat in silence with her face etched with both grief and pride. She held the little girl close, rocking her gently, while Ademola cradled the boy. Neighbors murmured, "How can two come from a womb that doctors swore to have been one? It is the work of the spirits. Or perhaps a curse. A life exchanged for two." One old man stroked his beard thoughtfully. "No, this is destiny's hand. The mother gave her life as a bridge. These children are not ordinary. Mark my words, they will grow to carry her spirit between them." Ademola's eyes burned with tears, but his jaw set firm. "Curse or blessing, these are my children. My wife gave her last breath for them. I will not allow anyone to call them evil." The murmurs quieted, but suspicion lingered like smoke after fire. Some elders urged him to take the babies for cleansing rituals, to appease the spirits and ensure no shadow followed them. Others, especially the women, insisted the twins were a blessing, the gods' way of doubling joy even in sorrow. Mama Tower finally spoke, her voice steady. Though her heart was broken. "My daughter gave her life for these two. They are her legacy. Anyone who dares call them curse calls her sacrifice worthless, and I will not hear of it." The compound fell silent. The twins stirred in their blankets, one yawning, the other stretching tiny fists as though they had heard and approved. That night, as the village quieted, Ademola sat awake by the babies. He watched them sleep, their breaths rising and falling in rhythm. His heart ached with the weight of his vow, wondering how to raise them all alone. How will he fill the space Ire left? But then, in the faint moonlight, he noticed something strange. The boy and girl, though wrapped separately, reached out in their sleep, tiny fingers stretching until they touched. And once their hands found each other, they grew still, their breathing calm and even. Ademila stared in awe. They are not two but one in spirit, split into two bodies. Ayar, are you still here, watching me through them? He wondered aloud. A shiver ran through him, but not of fear, of reverence. He knew then that these children carried a mystery greater than any man could explain. And though he felt the crushing weight of sorrow, he also felt something else, hope. The days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The wound of Ayar's passing never healed, but Ademila learned to carry it like a scar, painful, yet a reminder of love's depth. The twins grew quickly with their cries filling the compound like music. The boy, strong and restless, always kicking as though eager to run before he could crawl. The girl, quiet yet piercing, her eyes searching with a wisdom far older than her days. Mama Tower once said that she looked exactly like her mother, Ayar. But Ademila held his breath and withheld his response to that comment. The villagers that were once doubtful, began to soften. They watched how the twins flourished despite the tragedy of their birth. They saw how, wherever the children went, joy seemed to follow, neighbors quarreled less, homes felt warmer, even barren women came to Mama Tower's compound to touch the twins, praying some of their blessing would rub off on them. Some began to whisper, they are truly a gift. Their mother's spirit lives in them. Ademila worked tirelessly, raising them with both tenderness and discipline. In moments of exhaustion, he would remember his vow on the night he first held them, I lost my queen, but I will love and protect these two kingdoms she has given me. And each time the burden felt heavy, he felt Ayar's unseen hand steadying him. One evening, as the twins played in the yard, Mama Tower sat beside Ademila, her eyes soft with memory. My daughter gave her life, but look at what she left behind, she whispered. Two souls who will carry her laughter, her courage and her beauty. She is not gone, Ademila. She lives in them. Ademila watched the twins chase fireflies, their giggles rising like bells in the twilight. His chest swelled with grief and gratitude all at once. She gave me two, he said softly, but I gave her one, my heart. And she took it with her. Mama Tower placed her hand over his hand and said, and yet she left you with double strength, so you would not fall. That night, as the twins slept side by side, their hands once again found each other in the dark, Ademila whispered into the silence, my love, your sacrifice was not in vain. I will raise them to honor you, and I will tell them the story of how their mother gave everything so they could breathe. And long after I am gone, the world will know your name, not as the woman who died, but as the mother who doubled life. But there is one thing that troubled me that I can only share with you. Who exactly is the twin girl? Is it you? Did you come back to me as a child? Doctors said it was one and all the scan results showed one baby. Did you choose to come back anew, in the form of the second twin? After whispering those questions, he took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Suddenly, he remembered the words of the old woman in the market, they say you carry one drum of life. But you have taken his second hand. Because you have chosen a new life. My daughter, you have chosen. May you live longer in your new life. Fear gripped him immediately as the words of the old woman began to light up with meaning. As if that was not enough, the little girl turned in her sleep at that moment to face his direction. Ademila could not sleep that night. And so, in that village, the story of Ayar became legend. The woman who entered the world with a smile, lived with love, and left with a sacrifice so profound that generations would whisper her tale and the mysteries surrounding her twins. Her children grew, not as orphans, but as living testaments that sometimes, the greatest gift of love, is life itself.